Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going to dive into what is honestly one of the most incredible, totally unexpected underdog business stories of our time. It's a wild tale about a product that literally started as a joke on a boating trip and somehow, against all odds, transformed into a multi-billion-dollar global empire. So let's just jump right in.
Seriously, how did the world's ugliest shoe build a $4 billion empire? It's a massive paradox, right? How does a product that was pretty much universally mocked as hideous manage to achieve such massive global and financial dominance? Well, to really understand this wild ride, we've got to rewind to the very beginning.
Part 1. The Ugly Boat Shoe.
Let's take a little trip back to the summer of 2002, out in the Gulf of Mexico. Three friends, Duke, Scott, and George, are just hanging out on a schooner. Scott decides to bring out this prototype shoe he found from some Canadian company, and Duke's immediate, unfiltered response was, "Scotty, those are ugly. I am not going to wear those." And honestly, you can't blame him. They were these weird, clunky, black foam shoes completely covered in Swiss cheese-style holes.
But, once they actually put them on, the laughter completely stopped. Why? Because of this revolutionary technology called Crosslight. It's this highly durable, closed-cell foam. And what that actually means for you is that it softens with your body heat so it molds perfectly to the exact shape of your foot. Plus, it's water-friendly, unbelievably lightweight. We're talking weighing only 170 grams. And crucially for a boat shoe, it absolutely does not absorb odor.
So the founders soon had this really brilliant marketing realization. Think about the shoe for a second. It's comfortable in and out of the water, it has a tough skin, and, well, a really weird shape. Now think of an actual crocodile, right? Comfortable on land and water, super durable skin, and a very distinct head shape. In fact, if you look at it, the front of the shoe looked exactly like a crocodile snout. And literally just like that, the name Crocs was born.
From there, momentum built super rapidly. But here's the thing, it was not driven by high fashion at all. It was driven entirely by working professionals. You had nurses working grueling 12-hour shifts who desperately needed easy-to-clean comfort. You had chefs who loved how breathable they were, not to mention the life-saving grip on greasy kitchen floors. And of course, boaters needed that non-marking grip that could handle the water. The practical benefits were just completely undeniable. But, as we're about to see, explosive growth can sometimes be a really dangerous double-edged sword.
Part 2. Too big, too fast. So, Crocs was rapidly transitioning from this niche, practical shoe into an explosive global phenomenon. Professional management steps in, the original founders slowly start retiring, and things begin to spiral wildly out of control. Just look at the timeline. In 2004, revenue hits $1.5 million. Great. By 2005, under their new CEO, Ron Snyder, they launched their first real ad campaign called Ugly Can Be Beautiful. Then, 2006 happens. They have this record-breaking footwear IPO that gives them a $1.15 billion market cap. It made the founders and early investors multi-millionaires literally overnight. And by 2007, revenue skyrockets to an astonishing $847 million. The growth was just intoxicating.
But man, here is where the absolute hubris kicks in. To try and maintain that insane exponential growth, they started expanding way, way beyond their core identity. I mean, we are talking golf shoes, dress loafers, backpacks, even sunglasses. They actually launched a luxury women's fashion line with high heels, like this one called the Racy Rocker, and they were trying to sell them for an insane $280. Think about that. People who wanted a simple, comfortable foam shoe had absolutely zero interest in buying luxury heels from the exact same brand.
And because they were just relentlessly churning out endless product variations that nobody actually asked for or wanted, they ended up with a staggering $248 million worth of unsold inventory by 2007. To put that into perspective, that is nearly 30 million pairs of shoes just sitting in giant warehouses completely collecting dust. No way. Part 3. The Brink of Collapse.
Because the brand was suddenly everywhere, that massive overexposure quickly turned into active cultural disdain. Brand fatigue morphed into pure, unadulterated hatred. I mean, two teenagers literally created a website called IHateCrocs.com. Time magazine brutally included them in its 50 worst inventions list. And compounding all of this were some pretty massive safety controversies. Japan even issued official government warnings because children were getting that soft foam material caught in mall escalators. It was bad. The brand's public image was taking an absolute beating.
And then external reality dealt a crushing blow. The 2008 global financial crisis hit. Crocs swung violently from a $168 million profit to a devastating $185 million loss in a single year. To really wrap your head around that drop, their valuation plummeted from 24,000 crore rupees all the way down to a mere 300 crore rupees. The free fall was terrifying.
The true severity of the situation became undeniably clear in 2009 when their external auditors, Deloitte, formally stated that Crocs' quote, ability to continue as a going concern is doubtful. Basically, the experts were effectively writing the company's death certificate. They had shut down factories, laid off thousands of workers, and frankly, they looked exactly like a zombie company. But
Part 4. The Turnaround.
well, it's not over until it's over, right? Just when things looked entirely impossible, a massive private equity firm called Blackstone actually saw some underlying potential and threw them a $200 million lifeline. And along with that money came a management consultant named Andrew Rees who arrived to right the ship. Now, what Rees discovered was shocking. The original classic Croc, the hero product that built the entire empire, was only contributing 16% of the company's total revenue. The other 84% was just this chaotic mess of all those other disjointed categories we talked about earlier. The company was actively suppressing its true identity. It was almost like they were embarrassed by it.
So Rees stepped in and implemented a ruthless survival strategy. Step 1, kill the non-core categories. Just cut the fat entirely. Step 2, shift total focus back to the classic Croc, unabashedly accepting their true, albeit ugly, identity. And Step 3, shift to a totally asset-light model by closing down their own factories and outsourcing all the manufacturing to Asia, which is actually very similar to the strategy used by Nike. Now, these were painful moves for sure, but they were incredibly decisive steps that dragged the company back from the absolute brink of death.
Part 5. The Gibbets Revolution and Pandemic Megaboom.
Now, Rees didn't just want to survive, he wanted to thrive. And that really started with the absolute profit genius of Gibbets. See, a tiny past acquisition was about to catapult this brand to unprecedented heights. Back in 2005, Crocs bought a small business from a mom who was decorating her kids' shoes with these little plastic charms. For years, the company did practically nothing with it, but Rees did the math. Okay, a base classic shoe costs $50, but every pair has exactly 26 holes. If a customer fills them with $5 Gibbets, that's a potential $130 of extra revenue per pair. Suddenly, the shoe wasn't just footwear anymore. It was this highly lucrative blank canvas for self-expression.
Crocs capitalized on this massive opportunity by entering what we can call the collaboration era. And the partnerships they struck were wild. They collaborated with rapper Post Malone, and those sold out in literally 10 minutes. Then came Bad Bunny, KFC, the high-fashion giant Balenciaga, and massive franchises like Harry Potter, Marvel, and the NBA. Crocs leaned completely into pop culture, heavily capturing Gen Z and making the brand hyper-relevant once again. Then came 2020. The COVID-19 pandemic obviously hit the global economy incredibly hard, but it inadvertently created the perfect storm for Crocs. People were suddenly stuck working from home and desperately wanted comfortable, easily washable footwear. And crucially, Crocs stepped up and heavily supported frontline healthcare workers by donating over 860,000 pairs of shoes. That created massive goodwill while firmly cementing their status as the ultimate utility shoe. And right at the same time, we saw massive TikTok virality. Crocs just exploded organically among Gen Z. Kids were posting Gibbets customization and unboxing videos absolutely everywhere. So Crocs poured gasoline on the fire with brilliant campaigns like the $1,000 Crocs Challenge, which ended up racking up a mind-blowing 30 billion cumulative views. That provided crores worth of totally free publicity, and it really secured their cultural dominance. Which brings us to the climax of this entire financial narrative. $4.1 billion. That was Crocs' staggering revenue in 2024. They didn't just survive their near bankruptcy, they managed to complete one of the greatest, most profitable comebacks in the entire history of retail.
So, what's the real takeaway here? Well, it seems the world first laughs at difference, then accepts it, and finally, it celebrates it. Crocs almost died when it tried to be something it wasn't, but it became a multi-billion-dollar titan when it fully embraced its true, unapologetic identity. So I'm going to leave you with this question to ponder today. What is your ugly idea that is just waiting to be celebrated? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep learning.